Update. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend after a prenatal pregnancy test confirmed I was not the father? Original post. I, 26 male, was in a relationship with my girlfriend, 26 female, for almost 6 years. We loved each other, but last year, my girlfriend and I decided to separate for a while to rekindle our relationship. We placed no restrictions on the separation, and we were free to do whatever we wanted and act as we were single. We took a break for a couple of months. The break was much needed to recharge our relationship. A week after getting back together, my girlfriend showed signs of pregnancy. She got an at-home pregnancy test done, which confirmed she was pregnant. We were both really overjoyed and happy. A few months later, I was planning on proposing to her and I had already bought the engagement ring. But I wanted to confirm first that I was the father before proposing to her and get the prenatal paternity test done. My girlfriend and I both wanted to do the NIPP test to confirm that I was the father. My girlfriend said she did sleep with someone during our break, so there was an off chance I wasn't the father. But we were both very confident that I would be the father. We received the results a couple of weeks later, and I wasn't the father. I was extremely sad and dejected, and my girlfriend was very sad too. It just hurt me a lot, and emotionally I couldn't process it. A week later, I broke up with my girlfriend. The breakup was extremely traumatizing for her and even for me. I told my girlfriend that I just did not want to be the baby's father and that if possible, she had to try and contact the bio father and let him know. I then helped her move back to her parents' home. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Separate to recharge the relationship is maybe the dumbest idea I've heard. Well, how'd that recharge go? She recharged from a different dongle. It appears she got a data transfer of 23 chromosomes too. To rekindle our relationship, we decided to break up. Where do all these freaking morons come from? Dumbest BS I've ever read. It ranks up there with, my partner wants to sleep with other people so it will spice up our sex life. I've seen people do this in my own life. It almost always ends up one of the parties sleeping with a bunch of people during the break and the other person wasn't realizing that the reason for the break was so it wasn't technically cheating. Exactly. I have an exact same scenario where my buddy's girlfriend wanted to take a break. So they did, and it turns out she wanted guilt-free sex from another dude. He broke up with her shortly after that, LMAO. Now for the update. So just a quick update as a few people in the comments were wondering as to whether my ex knew who the bio dad was. I called my ex last night and asked her if she had found a bio dad. She said no, that she just knew his first name but didn't have his number or any social media. She had met him at the bar. It was pretty much a one-night stand. I asked her how her parents are taking it, and unfortunately they aren't taking it too great, and they are being really critical of her. Her parents liked me, and they had no idea we even took a break. My ex was a bit of an emotional mess when I called her last night, and I really felt bad. I really wish that baby was mine. My ex and I really envisioned spending the rest of our life with each other, but it sadly isn't. I told my ex last night that was the last time I was going to call her and wished her well on our future. She was crying really badly at the end, and it pretty much broke my heart when I hung up. I too remember when I wanted to spend my life with someone. Oddly enough, taking a random no-rules break so I could get raw-dogged on one-night stand didn't quite seem to align with those life goals. Yeah, I really don't understand these stupid breaks. It's literally just a pass to bang other people. Just break up. It's for people in denial that the relationship's over. OP said in his original post he was about to propose. If you had to take a break to rekindle the relationship, then marriage is a stupid idea. Worst idea is to try to save a relationship. Take a break, propose, have a baby. Dude, you gotta stop answering for anyone else's feelings besides your own. Because if your ex wanted to spend the rest of her life with you, guess what? She wouldn't have wanted a break in the first place. Don't project her feeling onto your partners, because it's obvious her feelings about you were completely different. Yeah, everyone gets one chance. There are no breaks, and everyone is at first responsible for themselves. You can't burn yourself to keep others warm. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to consider stopping our divorce after my ex admitted her psychic friend lied about me having an affair? I met my wife Rona when we were in college together. I made the obviously terrible assumption that the fact she was in post-secondary education meant she had a modicum of common sense. We started dating our senior year and after job hunting, settled on moving back to her hometown after graduating. We found an apartment and lived together for 2 years before getting married. All good so far. At our wedding, I met an old friend of hers, Anna. She offered to read my palm since she was part gypsy. Weird. I am in construction and I know a few people from that group and they call themselves Roma. Whatever. Anna only comes to town every once in a while. She lives in New York City, so she doesn't have time to visit since she has an exciting life there. She makes costumes for plays and cosplayers, so we see her maybe 4 times over the next 2 years. Last time she came was Labor Day last year, and that's when it got weird. All of a sudden, Rona starts acting oddly. She starts checking in on me at work, coming by when I'm working late, asking to use my phone because hers is almost out of power, that sort of thing. She finally comes out and accuses me of having an affair. I thought she was joking, so I laugh and say that I'm not. This sets her off like a Roman candle because Anna told her I would laugh it off when Rona came for the truth. I laughed because it was ridiculous. I barely had time for a relationship with my wife at my job. I am home all weekend long. When I go golfing, her brother is almost always either in my group or at the club. And most important of all, I love my wife. I wouldn't do anything to harm her. And yet she takes the word of Anna, the psychic seamstress, over mine. She asks me to leave our apartment. I say no, because I have nowhere else to go. So she leaves and moves back with her parents. They think she's nuts too. I spent the next few months working and trying to convince her that I'm not cheating and that I want her to come home. I don't get invited to Thanksgiving because it would be awkward. I didn't even stick around for Christmas. I went home to see my family. They have been following this stupidity without commenting until then. At Christmas, they had an intervention. They said my wife was having a break from reality and that she wasn't coming out of it. My dad told me to give my head a shake, which he only does when I'm being monumentally stupid. When I got back, I went to a lawyer and started my divorce. That was in January. Finally, at the beginning of April, Rona calls me to talk. I say that we should talk through lawyers. She starts to cry and I agreed to meet her in public if she will allow me to record our conversation so I can give a copy to my lawyer. She eventually agreed. Turns out, her and her parents hired a private detective to find my affair. 6 months and a huge bill later, 0 evidence of an affair. She finally believes me and wants to come home. I tell her that our lease is up in July and I already found a job in Denver near my family. She says she would come with me, but I respectfully declined. I told her we just weren't right for each other. The truth is, I do not want to have my offspring share DNA with this dingbat. Anyway, I am moving ahead with my divorce. I am gutted that she took her friend's psychic vibration over mine. Her family has approached me several times. The last time, her dad offered to front us a 25% down payment on a house if I agreed to go to marriage counseling instead of just leaving. I politely declined. I cannot be bought. Rona is now depressed, but I see no way of ever trusting her again. She is young enough. She can marry again and wreck some other guy's life. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. This dingbat. I could not have described her better. Not the a-hole, of course. Reproducing with idiots needs to be an actual deal breaker for more people. It doesn't matter how hot they are, how good it is, how perfect they would be if not for just this one thing, how lonely you are, etc. If you are going to have children, you don't get to pick a moron for a breeding partner. Child-free? Please take all the idiots you want. Enjoy your lives. Be awesome. Keep them from waving their hands in the air when getting on a helicopter. Pull the door they are pushing on in vain to open. Live your best lives. But if you are going to have kids, idiot needs to be on the list of deal breakers. Not a-hole for sure. Your comment reminds me of a story I was told in a college class. A very beautiful but dumb woman wanted to marry a very smart but ugly man in order to have very beautiful and smart children. The man just responded that they could end up with very ugly and dumb children. Not a-hole. Once she took the word of a psychic over you, it was over. And the fact that she then convinced her parents to hire a PI to get info on your infidelities is just the icing on the top. And only the PI coming up empty brought about the realization that you were telling the truth. What else will she blindly believe when her psychic friend has another vision? Run, don't walk. I would imagine the parents hired the PI as a way to get her to come to her senses. Yep, they offered over $100,000 down payment for a place to try and get OP to give the marriage another shot. I'd bet good money that they suggested a PI and were happy to pay for it because they knew it would come up empty and push her back to OP. Next story. I told my parents that if they keep bringing up their daughter, they'll be dead to me. Did I go too far? My best friend was engaged to my parents' daughter, a girl who I once considered my sister. He loved her dearly. She was his first girlfriend and his first love. He was like a brother to me and a second son to my parents. They were happy when they started dating and even happier when they got engaged. The happiness only lasted a few months though, because his fiancée was having an affair with his brother. When she broke it off, his brother told him about everything. They were having an affair way before he even got engaged. My friend didn't take the news well. He was more hurt that his fiancée had an affair with his brother instead of a random stranger. He didn't have the best relationship with his brother anyway, and that was another betrayal. He couldn't cope well, and I guess this pushed him over the edge. I blame my sister and I blame his brother. His brother was rightfully disowned by his family, but my parents kept in contact with their daughter. I already hated my parents' daughter when I found out she cheated on my friend, but I absolutely hated her when he killed himself because of it. It has almost been a year since he died, and my parents keep trying to get me to talk to their daughter because she's not coping well and needs all of the love and support she can get. I told them that I don't care what she's going through and they could leave me out of it. They didn't take this well and started arguing with me. I tried to stay calm, but they kept insisting I talk to her. So I told them that if they keep trying to get me to talk to their daughter, they'll be dead to me too. I told them that I could care less what they do with her, but don't bring her garbage to me, and I left it at that. This caused my parents to cry, and my mom told me that she was trying to get the family back together and that my sister made a mistake. But I can't fault her for my friend dying because of it. Is she really remorseful? In other words, are the brother and her still together? No, they aren't together anymore. She is remorseful, I guess, but the person she owes forgiveness to is dead, so too late. She wasn't remorseful when she lied to her fiancé for months. She wasn't remorseful to accept his proposal, knowing full well she was already cheating then. She wasn't remorseful in picking the single most hurtful person to cheat on her ex with. She wasn't remorseful in dumping him despite her being in the wrong. For tens of thousands of moments, she gleefully lied to his face, then made plans to continue something she knew was inhumanly hurtful to him. She was so selfish that she couldn't even be bothered to break up back when the affair first started, and instead had to string both men along. Even if she feels sorry now, the crocodile tears are only for herself. She deserves zero empathy, and she has already gotten so much more from your parents than she showed the innocent dead man. She does not deserve an ounce more civility from you or anyone else. Cheaters only tend to be remorseful when they face consequences. They don't really regret what they did, they regret the fact that they have to face what they did to everyone around them. Your sister didn't make a mistake, she made a choice, and that choice came with consequences, not the a-hole. She didn't make a single mistake or a single choice. It was a series of very bad choices that she could have stopped at any time, the biggest one being she accepted his proposal. Last story. Am I the a-hole for demanding my husband returns my engagement ring to the store because he is making me pay for it through our joint account? My husband, 30 male, and I, 28 female, have been married for just under 3 months and have been having a huge argument about my engagement ring. We got married 1 month into him proposing to me. It wasn't a fancy wedding, and we had our honeymoon right after we signed the papers at the courthouse. He gave me a diamond engagement ring that's close to 8K, a 2-carat lab diamond. He didn't have funds available readily as we are saving for a home, so he put this ring on a payment plan. I found out after we married and merged our finances that he has been withdrawing funds from our joint account to finance this ring. We make roughly the same. I was just taken aback and honestly put off by the fact he is making me pay for a gift he gave to me. We have been having some arguments lately, and he feels that ring is a wedding expense, and it's only fair that I contribute towards it too, and that as a woman of this day, I shouldn't hesitate to be an equal partner. I called BS and shared my thoughts on this whole thing. First, you don't make the recipient of a gift pay for the damned gift. An engagement ring is considered a gift in most modern societies even today, and I don't care if you disagree with that. It's just what the cultural expectations are. And we never discussed if he had any issues with that. Maybe if he was an adult enough, I would have had a discussion about how it makes him feel and see if his values about tradition align with mine. Second, I've intentionally partially paid for 2 installments now, which makes me part owner of the ring. If I knew my husband was going to be making me pay for the ring, I wouldn't have agreed to buy it. Mutual consent is essential when a couple is deciding to invest in an asset. Owning a house or a car jointly requires 2 yeses, and I wouldn't certainly have said yes to jointly owning a ring he was supposed to give to me as a gift. So I can retroactively decide now I never wanted to own it, and have been demanding that my husband returns the ring to the store if paying for the ring hurts his pocket so much. Clarification, because I anticipate a lot of people might wonder. I've always wanted a nice ring, and I'm not going to apologize about it since we never had a real wedding party, and I knew I deserved a quality piece symbolizing our love. However, my then fiancé also knew about the expectation I had of him, and was upfront about things from the get-go. He could have discussed things with me like I mentioned earlier, and we could have seen if we were truly compatible like that. What I didn't know was that he was plotting to get even with me by taking out a payment plan and using our funds to finance it. This caused him to flare up, and he berated me for being sexist towards him. I put my foot down, not because I can't afford it or I refuse to financially contribute or give my husband a nice gift, but my husband's sheer stubbornness and tackiness about wanting me to pay is what ticks me off. I don't mind splurging for him, but this whole situation has left a very bad taste in my mouth. He expects me to apologize to him because I called his actions tacky and decisions scammy and in bad faith. Am I the a-hole? Nobody pointing out $8K for a 2-carat lab-grown diamond is insanely expensive? My first thought too. Do you guys have separate bank accounts and just a joint account, or just a joint account? Because if you only have the joint account, you are technically gonna be partially paying for every gift you receive. The way it reads is that they have just a joint, which is how I arrived at she's the a-hole. How does she think her gifts will get paid if they share an account? Like he's still putting his money in the account. This is also weird to me, because I've been married for 17 years, and while a purchase this high would require talking, I feel like OP's husband probably took her letting him know she is worth the expensive ring, and it was what she wanted, so he got the ring. He probably never factored in paying for it from the joint account would make her flip her lid. Yes, I could maybe see her side of things if she wasn't so, I deserve and I won't settle. But seeing all that immediately made my eye twitch. This guy is never going to win. If he buys her an expensive gift, he will be called cheap and lazy. If he finances a nice gift, he will be called a liar and a thief. He just needs to run away.